Okay, my name's Larry Pollock and my wife Pat, and I lived here all my life. I quit school and started farming with my dad when I was 16 years old. And I tell everybody I'm going to keep at it till I get it right. I'm 63 in a month. And Dad moved here in 1940, and we decided we were a conventional farmer. And we went zero-till farming, and we zero-tilled for about 10 or 12 years, total every square foot on the farm. And then one day I read a book on how to improve soil with legumes out of Saskatchewan, and I read that book and I said, why aren't we doing that? So we started sowing 50 acres of alfalfa a year and plow down 50 acres a year, and we figured we would just spray the alfalfa out and carry on conventional. And after a few years, we had quite a few fields sowed to alfalfa, and we talked to an organic farmer, and he said, you know, Larry, those fields can be organic now. So we went to a few organic meetings and figured it made a lot of sense. And we figured if we were going to do it, now was the time. So we just carried on and started working down the alfalfa fields, converting them to organic, and sowed more of the farmed alfalfa as we were going. And our first organic crop and inspection was in '99, and our first crop was in 2000, and the whole farm was converted to organic in 2004. 1953 cloths, made in Harswinkel, Germany, and came from Saskatchewan. And as near as we know, it came right through here on the railroad, just south of, right through Brandon, in probably the early 50s to get to it, to where it was. And we haven't talked to another farmer that we know of that's ever seen one. This is sort of a unique combine for this country. They made lots of them. This is a Super Combine, it's called. And then they made a Super 500, and then they made a Super Automatic. And this one, they made 1,400 of these before the war. And then they started making them after the war, and it's right up to the 500. 500 automatic. And they made 40,000 of these combines that we've been told. But there was very few or hardly any ever came over to this country. This is a spelt dehuller. It came from Germany. It was used when we got it, been rebuilt, and the spelt goes up the top and comes down through a hopper, and it's got a feed on it, and it just goes through the dehuller, and then from there straight into the barn to be processed. Hopper up above. So it goes down through a fanning mill, which has got a blank screen on it. And the blank screen, all it does is just go down and it just blows the dehulled spelt out, and it takes hulls out, and the hulls go back out into the hull wagon and get blew back outside all through this system here. Goes into the bottom of the fanning mill, and it gets the stuff that's been dehulled. And the percentage of it that hasn't been dehulled comes out the bottom of there and gets augered up and stored in this hopper here. And once through the dehuller, it looks like that. There's still a lot that hasn't been dehulled yet, but about 80%, 85, 90%, all depends on the spelt and the year, how good it dehulls. That hopper, it gets augered up and it goes through these two 5-in-1s that do 5 different things. I've eliminated one of the steps because it didn't work with spelt, but you get the fine stuff out, screenings, and you get the undehulled stuff comes out. The far end, the big stuff. The undehulled spelt goes back through the dehuller again. And then there's a fan that blows the light stuff out. And then it goes through, you have this finished product down here. If I can get a good sample here someplace, this has been all cleaned up. You still have a lot of hulls, spelt that's not out of the hull yet. But all the weed seeds and the light stuff and a lot of the hulls, the stuff that's still in the hull, has been taken out. And then it goes from there on up into that hopper. And then it goes through the gravity table. Just covered with flour. Goes through the gravity table and it's separated out. This is not the way the gravity table works with that bit of grain on there, but that's after it went empty and I shut it off and let it clean up a little bit. And the finished product, when you're done, will look like that. Ready for the bakeries, ready to bag and go to the bakery. Or be ground into flour, or I'll take this off, you don't need this on here to show it. This is a flour mill we bought at an auction sale, and it's made in Austria. This is all Austrian pine. It has 16-inch stones, and whole grain I can do about 100 pounds an hour of flour. If I open the chute, no, there will be some come out. If you open that chute, close this chute, you get whole grain flour. And then this guy's a built-in sifter. So if you close this chute and open that chute, then the flour goes down and goes into the sifter, which has 3 different screens. You get your fine stuff here, and then your little coarser and your bran out that end, and the coarse bran comes out the far end. So you get 4 different kinds of 4 samples once through. You have your top stone. This is the one that turns. See, it's as tight as it can go. Had some grain in there, that's why it ground. The top stone turns, and the bottom stone sits still. And the grain goes in through here, and just goes in there and meters in and grinds it, and then it comes out around the edges. If you want whole grain, like I said, it comes out here. And you see the sifter goes out that side. And this is adjustable. You can adjust your stones right down tight or whatever you want. We make crack spelt too. Somebody wants crack spelt and makes porridge, we can crack it and make it. This is the finished berries bagged and ready to go. These are 50-pound bags with the labels on them, the date on them, and a big day I can do 50-pound bags a day.
Southwest, yeah.
That's a big day. Our bee barn is where we kept the leaf cutter bees. We have 2 incubators side by side, so we put half the bees in each incubator, so if we had a problem with one incubator and lost half our bees, we still had the other half. And these are all the blocks and the stuff you put the blocks together with. And we usually did about between 150 and 180 bushel, 150 and 180 acres a year of leaf cutter bees. And we sold the leaf cutter bees last winter because the last 2 wet springs we haven't had a chance to sow new alfalfa, so our fields were all getting old and they were getting in bad enough shape that we decided to sell the bees and take a break. So the equipment's just all pushed in the corner, and we're just kind of waiting and seeing whether we're going to go back into them or not. The equipment in there, got a block roller and a strapping machine for strapping the blocks together. And in the wintertime, I spent a month in the wintertime in here looking after the bees. Together, that's a block ready for the field. Has a backing board, poly for parasite control, and the metal side. That's the way they go to the field. And then when they come from the field, you stack them so the air can get through. You run furnace fans, you run 2 dehumidifiers 24 hours a day. And you stack these up so they got air between them. And they sit there till the temperature in the barn gets down to almost freezing, 40 degrees Fahrenheit. And then you take them all apart, take all the backs off. You got your backing boards, your poly and your sides. and you stack them up, and then you re-stack the blocks, and you let the fans and the dehumidifier run for another month. And then after that month is done, take the blocks, you put them through the harvesting machine, punches all the bees out of the blocks, and you just bag them, and you pile them to one side, and then you reassemble all the blocks again. Put them all back together, ready to go back to the field. Like there'll be little light maggots in there. Well, they should have had them in and incubated them by now. So each one of them, like that's got a bee in it.
A future bee.
Yep. And if you have a normal year, you should have, let me see, about between 3,500 and 4,000 bees per pound.
Per acre.
Per pound. Okay, thank you for visiting, and hopefully we'll see you on Open Farm Day and any other time of the year. When anybody's interested, just give us a phone call. We'll gladly give you a tour.